Hello everyone, and welcome back to part two of this. So I thought it was getting a bit long and I'm not even close to showing you the rest. So I thought I'd do a part two. There we go. So we talked about the Schnittbücher, which was the last one we talked about. This one, Before the Mast, is The Merry Rose. It's a big book. I'm not going to pull it out, but it's got lots of information about it. Not so much patterns as such, but it's really interesting. Then we have medieval furniture, because we were doing medieval and early Renaissance reenactment, so we have a lot of that sort of stuff as well. So, and hubby is an amazing woodworker, so he was making wooden furniture, so, tables and stuff like this, making furniture, blah, blah, blah. That is an art book, which is really cool. So we have lots of things up here to see. Right. Oh, underwear fashion in detail. So this is like my, some others that are here. We have a few here. So the Vic&A series of In Detail are amazing. They're beautiful to look at, beautiful as a coffee table book if you have the space to have a coffee table with a coffee table book, which we don't. But it also has some just like inspiration. You can see detail, and it has your basic layout patterns. It's not so much a pattern, but if you have an idea of other books that have patterns, or you can draft patterns quite well, these are often, maybe, sometimes all you need. Not always, but things. But I mean, yeah. And then it has the detail of the garment. So it also has details about the dates. Ooh, modern underpants. Look at this. Stockings, clocked, and frickin' embroidered stockings beyond belief. So this one, corsets, obviously, modern corsets, older corsets. This is a beautiful book. In keeping with the In Detail, this is the Vic&A's Historical Fashion In Detail. So this is 17th and 18th. Focus, little phone. There we go. Stuff. Things from smocks and chemises and the embroidery of them. See, so that sort of pattern you could probably use. It's a banyan. Looks like a banyan to me. Pockets and how they're things. So they're all from the Vic&A range, are all extant items from the Vic&A. So obviously they're more high-end, more fancy, but it's just the most amazing books. And then I also have, because you can't not, I got this only, I think last month. I treated myself to this one. I've been wanting to get this one for a while, but I had this one, so I didn't feel like I warranted getting more specific, but I did stuff it. I did. Oh, look, it's fallen forward to things I want to do. So this is more 18th century, male and female. And it's broken down by things like embroidery and pastes. So it's by the sort of the detail of the fashion, more so than dresses, coats, underwear. So yeah, that's also brilliant. And then just to add to it, I've had this one for a while, 19th century fashion in detail. Again, the same concept, drawing of the outfit, discussion of the outfit, what it's made of, and then close-up photos of what they thought was a really interesting image. I mean, this is a, what do they say? It's a man's machine-knitted silk vest with mother-of-pearl buttons. And then the provenance as well of it. So these books, even if you're not into sewing costumes, but you just love costumes, oh my god, these are beautiful. Hello, little kitten. Hello. So yes, these are amazing, and I recommend all of these. Get every single one of them. Just have them. And the Jeanette Arnolds. Okay, so then we have more of these sort of specifics, like in detail books. This velvet one, I'm so happy with this one. Mainly because I absolutely adore velvet. You know, this is a modern item, so they have old through to modern in this book. But this talks about like velvet through the ages, history of velvet, how it was made, where it came from. And it's just... So again, with costuming books, and when you get into costuming or historical reenactment or making garments, it's always good to know the background, to know the history, to know how expensive it was to how it is now, because that dictates the sort of garment class level you were making. Because historically, you know, someone with my income that I have now would not be wearing a lot of velvet. But because velvet is cheap, we have fast fashion, we have things made in China, we can go to places like Primark and buy a long velvet skirt that it won't last, but if it was quality, it would last longer. But I probably wouldn't have been able to afford it, so yeah. But anyway, enough of my little rant. So, you know, it's even velvet and how it's used in theatres. So if you ever see books like this, where they're specifying, if you're into this sort of thing, which if you're watching this video, I assume you are, these sorts of books are freaking awesome. I'll just leave you with that one for a bit longer. I'm going to leave that there because I can't get it in. All right, now we're getting to some more specifics. So I have things like The Basics of Corset Building by Linda Sparks. So this is more for modern, but it's useful for every type of corset making. It's a small book, but it's very, very useful. And if you've never made a corset before, or if you have, but you want more things, this is a great book. We have Classic Tailoring Techniques for Men. Menswear. This is more, again, it's more for modern, but it's very useful for things like, well, you know, how to coax a fabric into place, how to lay pockets. So again, it's just all the tailoring techniques for any sort of men's jackets, but then that can be used for women's jackets and historical jackets. So these sorts of books, techniques, brilliant. Then we've got this one. Do you know, I don't know if people know this one or if it's poo-pooed or not. Some of the patterns are a bit dodgy. Like, I would call some of the patterns nowhere near historically accurate if you're doing a historical book, and yet others actually are. And it's really, really useful for making hats. It has information. From a technique book point of view, it's fabulous. You know, it's just some of the patterns when you get to the back, because there are patterns, and it does all sorts of things, how to make all the sorts of things. All of the things to do with hats. You know, it's... So here we go, the patterns. It's a lovely laid out book too with the spiral binding. It is an older book. So, you know, perhaps if they redid it, they might update some of the patterns. I don't know. I'm not a hattier. No. Milliner. Hattier. But, and I don't know, you know, a lot about a lot of the time periods that they show here. But some of them are really, really useful. Yeah, but you know, they're useful. They are useful. Yeah. So, and it you know, even down to snoods and how to make a snood, which is quite cool. So again, this one I'd probably say is really good as a basis. Pattern-wise, I'm not 100% sure on all the patterns, but it's a very useful book. So that's by Denise Dreyer. I've had that since '97, and it was copyright 81. So it's quite an old book as well. We also have Period Costume Stage and Screen. So this one, there were a few that came out. This one's 15 to 1800. I know there is a later one as well. Oh, look, which is here. Why is it not next to it? I don't know. Anyway, so these two, focus. Again, they talk about how to make toiles, how to make bodices, how to fit properly, how to work on patterns, and then it has different designs and it has patterns which are scaled on grid paper, so you can scale it up. It gives options, like different sleeve options. It's actually a really good book. It's really, really useful. The patterns, again, I think they're actually quite good. They're obviously redrawn from pictures or from paintings. So, and then some of them are taken from extant garments. But my guess is that because it probably costs a lot less than trying to get the copyright to get the photos themselves, so she redraws them or drew them. Really good, because they give option of stage or theatre version, like with hidden zips and quicker all in one piece garments, but they also talk about how you could have it if you want to do it more historically accurate. You do these layers separately, but if you want to do it for theatre, it's all in one. So Jean Honeysett. These are actually a really useful book as well, especially if you are doing some more other, like you want to have something that maybe history bounding, where you want to wear costumes, but you want to make them a little bit easier to wear and not wear as many layers, or have easy access to get them into yourself. And this is the later period. So, yeah, these are great. Again, they're quite, oh, look, more pictures. And a lot of these books I have bought secondhand. So, always go into your secondhand bookshops and have a look at that. Buy secondhand. 88. So, yeah, there you go. Don't be afraid either to get books in other languages. Whenever you go, if you go visit somewhere, this is a photo of historical reenactors doing medieval costuming. The book is beautiful. When was it done? 2008. It's all in French, so if you're French you could read it. But they have proper pictures, and they have imagery and fabric, and they talk about everything, thimbles, oh yeah, and then different documents about different things, the buttons and stuff like that, hangers, stitching, shoes, as you can see. It's just a fabulous book. And then it has patterns as well, which are really useful, especially if you're just getting into the whole reenactment. You can go, oh, chemise, beautiful. Gives the details about the length, how to cut it the most economically. Where's the picture? There's originals, patterns, and here we go. So these are reenactors that are beautiful reenactors. They've made beautiful costuming, and they got together and put a book together. So I'm assuming you can actually order this online. This is Le Costume Médiéval from Heimdal or Heimdal. There you go. That's the ISBN if you want. I will try and link the books below, but some of these are difficult to get, so you might have to go hunting. But there is the main author. And then we come back up. We have things like more specific purses in pieces. So medieval and 16th century purses, pouches, bags. Same sort of concept, beautiful drawings, lovely things like that. Ah, the Tudor tailor. Now, if you don't know about Nina and Jane and their company, the Tudor Tailor, what have you been doing with your life? These guys, they're British. They are in the historical world of medieval and Tudor reenactment. They are the bee's knees. The Shizzle. The Shizzle. Again, same sort of concept. Oh, yeah. Was I going to make that? Oh, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So, patterns, male and female, which is so rare and so fabulous. They do their line drawings. They have the patterns there on graph paper. But you can buy their patterns. This is not sponsored, by the way. There they are, the beautiful people. This isn't sponsored. I just absolutely think their work is amazing. So if you can get your hands on this book, get your hand on these patterns, make yourself some 16th century dress, because it's the 20s coming, and I'm saying we should be saying it's the 1520s. Yeah. Can you tell I love this book? My hand just keeps popping up. This is another fabulous one. This is another old one. It's called Cut My Coat. All it is basically is line drawings and patterns of extant garments from the earliest version of coats or tops or shirts or jackets by Dorothy Burnham. It again has information, wearing sewn garments, garments without seams, and that's the pattern for it. And then how it sews together, the development of the shirt, smocks, patterns, and right through it also, which for these sorts of books, because, you know, I speak English and I am focused mostly on Western European fashion, this book is fabulous because it touches on Eastern Europe and Asiatics, so, you know, Turkestan, Far East fashions, kimonos and things like that. So it's just, again, pattern book, brilliant, recommended in your library. Fashion in the Age of the Black Prince. This is more information on it, so this is more like a textbook, but really, really interesting to read to get some more focus idea. There we go. Medieval Tailor's Assistant. Pretty dang good. Sarah Thursfield. It does 12 to 1500. That's quite a large time. There's a lot of fashion changes. But again, very good book. Very similar, same sort of thing. Patterns, drawings, extant items, if there's any around. Fashion Through Fashion Plates. Again, fabulous pictures. If you're quite au fait with making patterns, you can see these and go, I could tweak the pattern I've got with that, blah, 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 to make this. But again, really good. Anytime you see anything like these, I recommend getting them. There's some magazines. I don't know why they're there. But anyway, what have we got here? No. So this one is, I'll try not to show the nudie man because I might get edited. Look at that, nudie man. I'm trying not to show it. Oh, it's in a slipcover, god damn it. There we are. So this is an autobiography of Matthias Schwarz. So he was a bourgeois person and he got himself drawn a lot. And it's actually really interesting because it shows his fashion and fashion of the period. And this, unfortunately, I think it's all in German. Yes. But it has pictures. And if you can't speak German or you can't have the time to translate, these are actually copies of the original pieces. So it's drawings, it's painting, artwork. It's fashion of his period. All walks of life, all age groups. And some of his like sexy looking fashion. So yeah, I got this for the hubby because this is his favorite time period. And you know, it has information at the back. It has discussions about each of the garments. So again, it isn't, in French and in German, but that's a beautiful book. So we've got a few extras here. We're getting down to the end of what I have here. Again, some French books on specific things within the medieval period. So, Les Métiers, La Vie de Femme, so the view of the feminine. Ashleford, now I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, I've got these two books, Dress in Elizabethan and 16th century visual costuming. So again, it's more artwork. But, you know, the more times you look at pictures of the period, and while I do have a extensive Pinterest board, and I look at pictures, and then sometimes you see things here. You can't zoom in. Well, unless you do that. Wah! Look, old-fashioned zoom. You know, sometimes it's just, I love books. I have to say, I love books. I do. I can't put that back. And then I throw them all over the place. Here's another one. So, military costume. Yep. Jerry Embleton, I think it's Jerry Embleton. Beautiful book. Lots of colour. Again, historical reenactors making gorgeous costuming. Yum, yum, yum. Oh, look at this. Hardwick Hall Textiles. Fabulous book. Lots of close-ups of the textiles at Hardwick Hall, which is sort of Nottinghamshire way. If you ever get a chance, go to Hardwick Hall and dribble over the Elizabethan textiles. These ones, these are Japanese. Now, this is modern, but it's sort of almost fabric origami, and it just is really interesting on how you can manipulate fabric in such interesting ways. I mean, that's when you look at the pattern for this, and there are patterns in here, there are half-scale patterns, that has no padding behind it. That box is just living out of the fabric. It's amazing. But now I have all of these books, but most of them are unfortunately still in France. But this is part of the Museum of London's. Ooh, watch the books fall over. So these books, these are all they are extant items with their reference code and everything. So if you're doing something more serious, if you want to really delve deep into things, you can look at it. They give you sizings, they tell you what they're made of, and they give you their coding number so that you can then go to the Museum of London. Museum of London? Yep, Museum of London, and research more. This was library dead stock, which is why it's still got a library barcode on it. But yeah, the whole series of these, if you ever get a chance to get these, they are amazing. And we're almost down to the end. Then I got things like crochet, because why not? Felting, smocking. Now smocking is very useful, especially for historical smocking. So I do smocking of aprons and stuff like that. This is quite good. Sewing and collecting vintage fashion. Why was I fun with that? Sorry about that. Softies! Again, because sometimes you just want to make some fun things. Then you've got medieval book series. These are all by the British Museum Press. So we have painters, scribes, and goldsmiths. That's what I have here with me. Theophilus on diverse arts. So that was a medieval treatise. Absolutely brilliant if you actually want to know how to grind powder and make ink to work with your quill. It's just, it's everything. It's fabulous. This is where you start going down the rabbit hole and you start going, oh, I'm just going to do this, and then that leads to that and that and that. That is a rabbit hole book. And then we got a little bit of modern fashion, but it's really interesting. Embroidery Stitch Bible, wouldn't be without that. Because then, once you have things like a Stitch Bible, which tells you how to do it, you can then go into things like German Renaissance patterns for embroidery. And then natural dyes. And then you honestly, you go down the rabbit hole. And then this one, Self-Instructor in Millinery and Mantua Making from 1853. So that is my book collection that's here. I don't think I have any more downstairs, but I will go check. I did have 2 more. So, I mean, I'm downstairs now. Personally, I don't actually have much hair anymore, so I can't really do these, but I could do these on a wig. So, hair, jewelry, and shoes are often what make or break a costume if you're making a costume, or if you're just wanting to finish off a look. So some of these are well, I've got 2 books. I love this. This is vintage, and it's all 20th century, but it tells you how to do everything from pin curls to, beautiful. And then, so that is from, Lauren Reynolds, fabulous book. And then this one, Artifice of Beauty. So this is Sally Pointer. I got to meet her, and I actually did a little group thing with her once where we made malachite eyeshadow, and we made a lip stain, which is like that. Natural. Oh, so fun. I loved it. And this book, if you get a chance to get this one, she does, it's historical, like right from the earliest examples of pigments and makeup through to, I don't think it goes through to now, but it's talking about all sorts of things. It talks about the history of it, talks about the equipment that they used, the materials, how things were made. It's so good a book. And then it has information of ingredients in the appendix and some historical actual references. So if you are interested in beauty and you're interested in history of beauty, this is probably one of the best books to get. So there we go. I don't know what to end with now. I'm making a chemise. Does that work? Oh, I'm making a chemise. I'm hand sewing it. I'm going insane. Wee, look, little baby hand. That's the inside, by the way. That's the hand sewing. And there is my finished stitching. I think I'm doing a pretty good job. So making a chemise for an 18th century outfit. So anyway, there were my books. Thank you very much. Go buy them all. Go support. Go buy secondhand versions of them if you can. Go buy independent authors. Books are amazing. Internet is fabulous. It's great use, but having a tangible book on a bookshelf just brings you joy. So anyway, thank you for joining me for these 2, part 1, part 2. Find part 1 link down below. Sorry this went so long and this isn't even all my books. But anyway, thank you for coming and watching. If you want to subscribe, that would be lovely. If you want to ring the bell so you get notifications when I do them. As I said, 2020, I'm going to start doing stuff. It may not be every week. It may be every 2 weeks. It may be, 2 weeks, I'd say. But I'm going to try and show you things. Costuming that I've made previously. Costuming I'm making now. Have a wonderful new year, everyone. And I will see you anon. Bye.